you go.
You got it as a birthday present.
I picked up all your stuff here and it's been recorded. I've started. Okay, we'll call to order the Planning Committee meeting of Tuesday, November 14th to order. We have an in-camera as well, and we have an item upstairs after. So just for committee to know. Can I have a motion on the minutes? Move seconded. All those in favor, contrary, carried. And our next committee meeting is December the 3rd at 4 o'clock in this room. And if anybody has anything to add, we'll add it. But the first thing is an application by 1343356 Limited for rezoning at 6251 and 6071 Remus Road from the small scale RSML1 to the zone of the low density zone. And Tulu and Suzanne. And Tulu, it's over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Staff does not have any additional comments to provide, but we'll highlight a few points. The application is to facilitate the development of 10 townhouse units at 6251 and 6271 Williams Road. Vehicle access to the site is from Williams Road. Staff worked with the developer to retain as many trees on site as possible. 5 on-site trees and 2 neighboring trees are identified for retention. 1 on-site tree is identified for relocation due to its conflict with the required frontage improvements. 4 on-site trees are proposed for removal, and in the preliminary plans, 8 new trees are identified to be planted on site. Refinement of the project design, including landscaping, will be further reviewed at the development permit stage. Additionally, a servicing agreement is required for the design and construction of the frontage improvements and site servicing works. I am available to answer any questions.
Okay, do we have any questions on this, Carol? I can see you're rushing to it already. There you go.
Thank you very much. On page PLN 24, it shows the layout of the 10 townhouse complex. And I'm just curious, I see on the one side, it's going to be open, so if future developments come, then it will hook up. But on the other side, it says open amenity space. If need be, could that turn into access for future developments down the road?
So just through the chair to Councillor Day, are you referring to
I'm the opposite. Sorry, strike everything I just said. It is
Next
open
one.
to both sides. Thank you.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
There you go.
Having a blonde moment, what can I tell?
Okay, Andy, there you are.
Thank you, and through the chair. Thanks for the report, and I'll be supporting the recommendation. I was just curious, in the tree section, actually, with retention, the relocation of the one cypress, I think is tag number 14. You know, that got my attention because in my life, I haven't had great success at relocating trees. So do we know what the success rate is when we do that? And I looked at the caliper size, but so how tall would that tree be? And what is the success rate when we do that?
Okay. Through the chair to Councillor, through the chair to Councillor Hobbs. So unfortunately, I do not have the success rate information, but we do have an arborist that provided information and reviewed the trees to confirm that the tree could be relocated.
Yeah, I think that's really good to do, though.
Through the chair to Councillor Hobbs, if I may add, both the project arborist for the report and the city's tree preservation group review that proposal of relocating the tree. So we do have sort of 2 sets of eyes, if you will, in terms of assessing the feasibility.
Yeah, no, that's great. Thanks.
Okay. Michael?
Well, thank you. Through the chair, just a comment. I appreciate the work on protecting the significant tree that's on the neighboring property. And it also mentions on our page 39 that an arborist will supervise the excavation adjacent to that, which will cut into the tree canopy line, so it very well could impact the tree. So I'm just curious if the arborist who is supervising it does see potential damage, like will there have to be a change in that building that's in the I think that's the northwest corner? No, sorry, that's the northeast corner.
Through the chair to Councillor Wolf, just to confirm, you're referring to the tree OS1?
Yes.
Or OS1?
West one.
So yes, as part of the development permit review, we will also be reviewing the health of the tree, and further on, during construction and after construction, there are processes in place to review the health of the tree.
Okay, great, thank you.
Okay, anything else? Motion, move second. All those in favor, contrary carried. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, the next item is from the Heritage Commission, the bylaw 7906, the amendment, bylaw 10619. And the recommendation is we give a first, second, and third reading. And in the bylaw, if you look on page 53, it is to implement the proper term limits for being on the committee. And we got Speaker John Hopkins.
And
Okay.
Judith Mosley.
And Justin, Judith, I should say. Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Nothing further to add. Happy to answer
Are
any
there any
questions.
questions? Motion to move forward. Michael, oh, sorry, hang on. Michael, hang on. There we are.
A quick question. I know I was, as a previous council liaison on the Heritage Commission, I think it was Councillor Heed, but I think it just switched to Councillor Liu. Yeah, I've valued some of the long-term members who have been on that. I know some of that is enclosed after this meeting. I just worry that maybe the original intention of not having the term limits for this commission is having that longer running knowledge of heritage features would be a benefit. Was that considered with this updated plan?
Through the chair to Councillor Wolf, one thing I could add is in the bylaw, just like in the term limits policy, that there is discretion from council if there's a desire to have a member stay on longer than the actual term limit, and that can be reviewed on a case-by-case basis.
And we've done that on occasion, like the YVR appointment. Okay. Motion to give it first, second, third. Move seconded. All those in favor? Contrary carried. Thank you very much, both of you. Okay, the next one is it changes the BC building codes, a single stair. And the recommendation is a letter outlining Richmond's concern regarding the BC building code changes to allow single stair buildings outlined in the staff report be sent to the following people, and I'm sure there'll be some discussion. Mr. Cooper and Fire Chief, I was just going to say, what do you have to add to this? policy?
Nothing to add, Mr. Chair.
Suggestion.
Nothing to add.
Want to get out?
Please to answer
The
questions.
way out, please.
Yes.
Anyhow, I'm sure there's questions. Let's go around the table. Carol, we'll start with you.
Thank you. So I understand this is for buildings up to 6 stories.
Correct.
Yeah. How tall, how high up can the fire truck ladders reach?
Through the chair to Councillor Day, we've got 2 different heights of ladders in our deployment. One is a 100-foot ladder and 2 75-foot ladders. The 100-foot ladder can really reach maybe the 6th floor or the 5th floor, and the 75-foot ladders are usually around the 3rd floor.
Okay. Do we ever do that? I mean, how often has that been deployed in that kind of?
It's exceptionally rare to rescue people off of balconies. The buildings are currently designed through the building code and the fire code to have people shelter in place, to evacuate on their own through an exit. That's much, much safer than to be picking people off of balconies from burning suites. It's very rare.
Okay, and then when it comes to a stairwell, I mean, we look at the stairwells here, they're not very big. I mean, what's the average size, would you say, of a standard stairwell in a 6-story building?
Well, the minimum size by code is 1,100 millimeters wide, which is just a tad under 4 feet. And that's the flight width. And there, generally, nobody builds 1,100 millimeters. They would build to 4 feet, which is 1,200 millimeters. Yeah.
So you're not getting a whole new apartment in there?
No, the single exit stair provisions in the building code is saying that instead of a 4-foot wide flight width, it would be 5 feet wide or 1,500 millimeters.
Yeah, I'm not real, I would like to write to the province and suggest that we not allow this change, so.
Okay, we've got, that's what the recommendation is. Okay, Andy?
Thank you, through the chair. Thanks for the report. I fully support the recommendation in it. And I just, when I read this, I just don't think the potential risk is worth any of the potential gain, however you measure that. But you did pique my curiosity with the fire truck ladder reach, because I thought in other cities there are fire trucks that have a longer reach than the 6th floor. So do they exist, or am I making that up?
Through the chair to Councillor Hobbs, there are longer ladder trucks available through vendors. They would be much bigger trucks. There's a benefit and a risk to that. The larger the truck, the more difficult it is to get into a certain neighborhood or onto a certain street. And so the truck has to set back from the building, therefore you lose the height. A 100-foot ladder will not get you to the 10th floor. It might get you to the 5th or 6th, depending on how far away from the building they have to stage because of gardens, fences, parking lots, those kind of things.
Yeah, well, maybe that's a conversation for offline, but anyway, thanks for that.
Alexa, hang on, there you are.
Thank you. Thank you for this. You mentioned that you are okay with it up to 3 stories, though, because we can reach them generally with a normal truck, yeah?
Through the chair to Councillor Liu, we could manage. I don't know that I'd be fully in favor of a single exit. Still, the single exit versus a secondary exit is still a significant risk, I believe, professionally, not just to the residents, but also to my staff when they have to go deal with the problem in those buildings.
Thank you.
Okay. Just a quick question. I liked how you put that, Chief. You say we can manage. You know, we're always thinking about the client that we're trying to rescue. But what about the fireman that's going to the rescue, and how much does this kind of danger, is there a danger there where you've only got one way to go, et cetera? It's a two-way street, isn't it? And I think that needs to be put in, hopefully whoever's writing this letter, all these things are put into context. And the other thing is how many other communities and your colleagues that are having the same concern. I hope Burnaby has the same in Surrey and saying, hey, wait a minute, what's going on?
Certainly, Mr. Chair, there are these discussions happening both regionally, provincially, and nationally through my networks. And my colleagues across the country have a very similar position, that the change to a single exit without considering the entire spectrum of the operation is a significant risk, not only to the community, but also to the, like you say, the firefighters responding. Yeah, we also use those exits to exit when we have to.
Jack?
So may I know that if the fire departments in the region or in the province, are they going to do something collectively to reflect the concerns of the provincial government, or have that already been done?
Through the chair to Councillor Au, a number of the networks that I'm involved in, the Greater Vancouver Fire Chiefs Association, as well as the Fire Chiefs Association of British Columbia, have already penned letters and sent them to the province prior to the election, stating their positions on that.
Okay. Laura?
Thanks. Thank you for all this information and the recommendation. I'm just curious, you know how some cities have adopted this single stairway, like Seattle, for example? But it says in the report that Seattle requires buildings that beyond 3 stories to be non-combustible, right? So that means, like, they can see why they could possibly approve it, because if they're 4-story plus buildings need to be concrete or mass timber, something less combustible than wood, then that's not what we have. Our buildings up to 6 stories can be all wood, correct? So doesn't that make us more of a risk for us than, say, Seattle?
Through Mr. Chair to Councillor Gillanders, there's a couple of factors beyond that as well. They have, it's called a Type 3 construction standard, which is at the six-story level is pretty much a non-combustible building. As Chief tells me, Seattle has a plethora of really, really, really long fire trucks where the fella drives, or the gal drives the ladder in the back. And also, in all the building codes, it's actually harmonized, to tell, yeah, I mean, it is quite harmonized that the building code in Germany and the Seattle building code and our building code all say that 2 methods of exit are required. However, in those building codes, the second exit is to be rescued from the exterior. That's the difference we're
And that's-
talking about.
And that's still going to be there? So there still needs to be a second exit that's,
No, the second exit is being rescued from outside.
right, yeah, okay. And just one more question. Has anything been added to the building, like with their change of having the single stairway? Has any additional safety measures been added to that stairway, that stairway be fireproof, or that stairway be all concrete to prevent fires in that one stairway?
Through the chair to Councillor Gillanders, the thing that's been added is a slightly wider stairwell.
That's it.
And I think Chief can speak to the adequacy of that, or non-adequacy of that.
Well, yeah, and it says right here that 10% of fires are in the stairwells, which means 1 in 10 fires are going to be in the stairwell. So then how are they supposed to get out? I don't like it.
Okay. Carol?
Yeah, just humor me for a minute. So given that the BC Building Code is changed to allow for the single exit stair, maybe there's other things that we could look at. I mean, obviously, this is about trying to reduce cost and build more units. What about BC Building Code being amended to consider a 2-tier system for approving secondary suites in existing homes? Like right now, it's quite onerous for someone in a 40-year-old house to make that suite that they have probably illegally legal. And I'm just wondering, maybe now, since they're willing to look at something like this, the BC Building Code would be willing to look at something like that. And I just want to ask Mr. Cooper's opinion on that.
Through the chair to Councillor Day, I believe the last iteration made it a lot easier, actually. The fire separations between secondary suites and the main dwelling have been reduced. You can have the same atmosphere and be blown through a ducted furnace through the 2 spaces. So they have made it easier.
Oh, well, I would love a memo on that, maybe all the council, because I didn't realize they had made such significant changes. Last I heard, they had just allowed the suites to be bigger, but they've actually made some significant, please, yeah, inform us.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any further questions, any further discussion? Yes, by all means. Hang on here. There we go.
Do we not still have the ability with our own permitting process to require a second stairwell, or would that, we could be open to litigation?
Through the chair to Councillor Gillanders, no, it's the law of the land. We may not put anything in our permitting requirements that are contrary or extraneous to the building code.
Oh, wow. Okay, thanks.
All right, anything further? The motion's on the floor that the letter be sent. So moved, seconded, all those in favor? Contrary carried. All right, thank you very much, thank you. Okay, keep us up to date if anything changes. Managers, one manager's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In fact, I actually have 2 updates. So first update I just want to provide to committee is that today or this morning there was a builder's breakfast event. Councillor Liu was in attendance, so appreciate you being there. The builder's breakfast event was held with over 70 small builders and designers to discuss essentially the new RSM zone for small-scale multi-unit housing, which is in response to Bill 44. The meeting summarized the consultation that we've done to date and explored some building and site design issues that the builders wanted to discuss. We also looked at building height, accommodating on-site parking, those type of specific issues, and also looking at building code and construction requirements. The feedback from today's meeting, in addition to the Let's Talk Richmond survey that we had over the summer and all the open houses, will be summarized in a package or in a report for council first thing in the new year. The other update I just wanted to provide is on a series of open houses that are coming up with respect to the OCP targeted update. I believe everyone should have received a memo probably late yesterday that indicated the dates and times of the open houses. First one being tomorrow at the Stevenson Community Center from 5:30 to 8:30. Within that memo, there was also a series of information panels that will be shared with the residents. The open houses will focus on sort of the key targeted areas in the OCP review, which is housing affordability, community equity, environmental protection and enhancement, and climate change and mitigation. So staff from various departments will be in attendance, and like I say, there'll be a series of information boards. And also just wanted to mention that there will be a Let's Talk Richmond survey that will be sent out tomorrow morning. We'll have a series of questions to get a sense of support of the high-level goals and objectives, and ask if there's anything else that should be included as part of the review. And that online survey will be available till December 22nd, and we'll report back to council early in the new year on the results. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Yeah, on the Builder's Breakfast, was there any talk of like pre-approved designs, like you want to build 4 units on your existing lot? This plan will be fast-checked.
Through the chair, Councillor Day, what I would say is there wasn't a specific questions or comments on that, but I think what I could probably say is that certainly the builders want things to be approved as quickly as possible and at the lowest cost. So pre-approved designs would certainly speed up the process, but that did not come up specifically at the event.
Well, maybe that's something we should look at, because, I mean, in the old days, when they were building houses in Richmond, the Richmond box was built 1,000 times, I'm sure. And I'm sure when anybody came in to get approval, it was stamp, get started. And I wonder if that isn't something that we should have ready-made.
One thing I can add through the chair to Councillor Day is the province has prepared pre-approved designs that can be considered by any municipality. We have been looking at that, so we are trying to look at opportunities where maybe we can have certain elements, if not a whole building or part of a building, that would be pre-approved.
Except ours are going to be better because they're going to include parking.
Correct.
Yeah.
Alexa.
Thank you. Thanks for that this morning, too. When you do come forward with it, the report, can you add in where extra costs and challenges come up? So for example, if you go to the 3rd unit, or if one of the units stacks above somebody else, then it triggers things like sprinklers, and like there's things that get triggered, and then there's reasons why the builder wouldn't create that, because they're like, well, I could just do a duplex. I think the comment came up on servicing agreements. So if it's fewer than 2 units, you don't have to have a servicing agreement. Well, what does that mean? How much cost is that? How much time is that? So how much time? I've heard builders complain it's anywhere to 3 months to get a servicing agreement or longer, right? So why is it that they're trying to avoid this, and why does it take so long? But it does prevent people from wanting to build these things. Another comment came forward about DP. So if it goes to development permit panel, why do they not want to go there? How much extra does it take? It seems that when we see the minutes from it, it's maybe a year later, right? It could be a really long time later. So there's benefit in not going to that. So it seems in many cases, if you have a large lot, your actual incentive is to subdivide and not actually do one of these smooths, not trying to do something creative and not do something else. There's no incentive to do, say, 3 different size units on your same property so that you would serve, say, your family of 4 plus grandma plus your weird Uncle Henry that needs a small little space. You know what I mean? Like, we're not actually creating a variety of homes. We're creating an incentive to stamp out same, and whether it's duplexes. So we're just basically going back to the 1980s when you could have a duplex. And in some of those duplexes, maybe you can have a suite, right? But because in your heart, what's the difference between a duplex and a suite, or 3 units? Like have that smaller little unit that that person can own on their own and like have that chance to get into the market, stay in their neighborhood, whatever their situation is, whether, you know, they're getting into the market or slowly exiting the market, if you will, or downsizing, but trying to stay in their neighborhood, right? So we're not actually creating incentives to create that variety of things. And I think there's pieces in the density that are preventing some of those options, right? So like if you can build 4,000 on your lot now, and you can still only do 4,000 later, but still only on, you know, your 10,000 square foot lot. Meanwhile, if I subdivide now, I can do slightly more, then it's like, well, I'll just subdivide and carry on, and I'm not gonna try and take advantage of this, and I'm not gonna try and come up with anything creative and new that meets a different need in the neighborhood. So the only people that can have like a small unit in my neighborhood have to move into eventually an apartment, but those aren't in my neighborhood, so they have to go somewhere else, right? So if we actually want some of these things in our neighborhoods, then we're gonna have to make it easier or create a more even playing field for this to happen. So if you can somehow include some of those things, I know some of the questions came up in those, certainly things around things like sprinklers, fire breaks, like if you're putting something on top, things like that, like it triggers extra rules and it creates more complication. Certainly it creates more complication from the plan checking side of it, but also the creation side of it. So like there's no point having the capacity to do it or even monkeying around the edges on talking about like, there's almost no point having these further conversation if it turns out that it's still not feasible for anyone to do it. We're just fiddling around the edges, nobody's gonna do it, and we're still right back where we started.
Fair comment.
Comment, or you're okay?
Well, through the chair to council, the only thing I'll add is there's no question this new zoning and these new regulations allow a lot of flexibility and options for builders, and we have to look at all the options and look at the path to get to that product and understand the costs and impediments that might be in their way. So I think fair comment, and I think that's a fair summary of some of the comments that we received today. So we'll be taking that into consideration.
Anything? Go ahead. Yes, there we are. Oh, hang on.
And realistically, what we're dealing with right now, like the people who own a piece of property are typically builders that have built in Richmond. Like they've been here building for X number of years here, they're going to continue building. So it's not this onslaught of new people going to come suddenly rushing in to try and create something crazy and new. Like if we kind of open it up a little bit more for the next little bit and see what comes out, then we'll actually see what happens versus being so rigid and preventing anything from happening, then nothing will happen and you'll just see same old. Another L-shaped mansion stamped out or another exactly subdivided one that we have 100 of or hundreds of that we were hoping for something different.
Okay, anything else? Thanks very much then. Okay, motion to, that's it, so motion to adjourn? We're adjourned. Okay, we have an in-camera. All right, motion for closure and compliance. All those in favor, contrary carried. We'll call the meeting to